Hey, it's Ron, Chief Innovator and Organic Chemist here at BioGenesis Laboratory. I thought it might be a really great idea to go over a few frequently asked questions. These are some of the things that I've been really fortunate to hear from many of you through emails or public appearances and just meeting with families and getting a vibe for some of the things that people are curious about, either before, during, or even after they've been using ThincZinc Plus Ultra for quite a long time. So let's go ahead and break these down one by one. I chose my top four, but if you have any that you would like to add to this, please contact me. My name is Aaron, that's Aaron, at biogenesislaboratory.com, and that comes directly to me. So you don't have to worry about anyone ignoring it or getting caught up in the spam folder. Well, let's get right into it. So for the first question, I really hear this a lot. How much should I take? The label goes into some detail on this, but just as a very small label, we only have so much room to work with. And so the best answer to that is 6 milliliters a day. However, just to expand on that thought, something that is very important, very crucial in order to maintain blood levels so that your body and technically your cells have everything that they need to be nourished and to thrive is to take ThincZinc Plus Ultra 3 times a day. What I tell people is that there's obviously going to be a good, better, and a best gradient as far as the choices that you make and the implementation of our 7-in-1 functional therapeutic. And what I mean by that is the best way in order to give yourself all of the nutrients, the antioxidants, also the essential fatty acids, and even the minerals, which is play a huge role with ThinkZinc Plus Ultra, is to steadily dose throughout the day. Now, the easiest way for us to remember that is just to create a pattern that is going to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. However, a lot of the people, a lot of the families that rely on our products are very busy. And so I just try to dilute that down a little bit without taking too much of the efficacy or effectiveness of the product out of the equation. So what I usually say is morning and night. And if you think of it as bookends on your day in order to give you that liquid health that you need, taking it with breakfast and also taking it before bed is very important. One final thought on that is that it really doesn't matter if you take it with or without food. Because of the chemistry in ThinkZinc Plus Ultra, the way that we prepared each of the ingredients, and also the integration into the liquid formula, you won't notice a lot of the nausea or the gastric distress that you will notice and probably have if you're watching this video with other supplements on the market, whether it be zinc or magnesium, namely, or some of the other 5 ingredients that are very bioactive and available in our product. And the reason for that is because they're molecularly bonded and distilled. So just an easy way of explaining that is our zinc, for example, is actually bonded with glycine, which is why it is zinc glycinate. Our magnesium, as another example, is bonded with malate, or it becomes magnesium malate because of the malic acid compound and molecule. What this does for you as the user is it's going to enhance your energy and give you all of those positive, healthful benefits without getting into the territory of running to the bathroom or worrying about having an upset stomach. I've actually been able to talk with a lot of people that do not even use zinc supplements, which is really a shame because it is so pivotal and really foundational to our overall health because they've actually vomited as a result of taking that. And without going too far into the weeds on the science behind that, many zinc products, first of all, are very cheap and inferior. They don't have the glycine bonding. And above and beyond all else, they are compressed tablets. And so many zinc supplements come anywhere between 5 and 15 milligrams, which is almost invisible to the naked eye. So it's a very small amount of powder. What I've noticed about that is the rest of the tablet or the capsule is completely filler. And that's not good for your body. So your body has to break all of that down, cleave apart all of those filler compounds to make the compressed tablet in order to get to that very small amount of zinc. We don't do that, and we never will at BioGenesis Laboratory. Question number 2. Oh, yes, this probably should have been the first question. The most, by far, uh, just by volume, the most asked question that I receive is ThinkZinc Plus Ultra safe for children? And the answer is not only yes, but it was designed with them in mind. So think of it this way. ThincZinc Plus Ultra isn't just safe, but it's actually crucial. I think of it as very essential. I think of our product as the scaffolding to good health, to bio-optimization. And what I mean by that is it's going to go the distance to fill in that deficiency that you are certainly, whoever you are watching this video, you are suffering from a deficiency of some type and some kind. Now, here's the takeaway. The severity and duration of that deficiency is going to express or exhibit itself in various chronic illnesses and disease, or as I like to think about it, dis-ease, because your body is in a state of discomfort, and detoxification. So we apply labels to that. We give all of these fancy names to certain conditions, which is basically nothing more than a set of symptoms that are working together to make you feel like garbage. So whether that's chronic fatigue syndrome or anything else, what you're going to notice is that it is because of a deficiency somewhere. Now, the formulation and the entire ideology behind ThincZinc Plus Ultra is that although zinc is in the namesake of the product, it goes far beyond that. As a matter of fact, the reason why it is a fully dosed, pure and potent 7-in-1 functional therapeutic is because we didn't want to just address one issue. We want to address them all. And if we can replace an entire shelf of supplements that you're probably not even taking, to be quite honest, because of just the chore and the hassle of remembering to take them all, then that is a huge win and a huge success for your overall health and well-being. So with that in mind, I also want to speak directly to children taking this. Uh, a big catalyst for the reason that BioGenesis Laboratory even exists is because I'm a new father. And several years ago, I immediately started trying to have a family with my wife. I immediately started down the path of what's going to be the most effective in order to enhance fertility. Well, one of the things that immediately came to the top and to the forefront of that research was zinc. We all have basically heard of zinc, if nothing else, more of a buzzword or just a sizzle ingredient that we know is extremely powerful. But what we really haven't done is the deep dive on the research. So to give you a very brief, just cursory review of how it works, zinc, when paired with our other 6 ingredients, is going to amplify its results and effects. But to get back to the original question, the reason why children need ThincZinc Plus Ultra so much is because they are not getting these nutrients from the food supply. As a matter of fact, since 1950, 80%, and this has been very well documented, it's obviously not publicized or published as much as I would like, but 80% of all known trace and macronutrients that are in the soil have been completely depleted. Now, this is a two-edged sword. They've been depleted because the soil of over-agriculture has been depleted, but also because farmers are continually pushed and cornered into maximizing revenue and profitability of their acreage. So what that means is that after each harvest and season, they are no longer replenishing the soil with all of the phosphates and the calcium and everything else that goes into a very rich ecosystem that following harvest and crop season will produce very nutritious fruit, vegetables, and things like that. Many people don't realize that, but when you look at the back of any sort of a label, the nutrition facts on that are not accurate. As a matter of fact, the FDA, the so-called gold standard, not only allows for a very wide margin of error and deviation from what is actually in the food, but they do not require food manufacturers to submit samples. Hey, you know, our fruit or our vegetable has this much vitamin C, has this much vitamin D3. They actually don't force them to put that sort of research into fleshing out what is in the product. And secondly, and perhaps just a little bit more mischievously, the reality is that all of the RDAs, all of the nutrition, and everything that you've seen on the back of cereal boxes and on bread packaging, and everything else that you have in your cabinet and pantry right now has not been overhauled and updated since the 1950s, which is kind of the era that we're talking about right now when we saw that precipitous fall in the mineral concentration within the soil. So all of this wraps up to finish out question number 2, that children not only need this because they're growing, but because of their cellular load with a lot of their replication of cells and just the energy demand on their bodies, they, believe it or not, need the same exact amounts for optimal health as you, the person watching this video, as an adult needs. And by the way, let me go ahead and eliminate any sort of concern in your mind right now about the fact of overdosing or taking too much of something. Yes, 100%. I totally understand that anything in the world can be taken too much to a fault. As a matter of fact, you can take too much water, which is essential to life. That's called drowning. However, with ThincZinc Plus Ultra, all of the ingredients are either water soluble, which means that the body is going to utilize what it needs and excrete the rest, and it has a lot of biological mechanisms in place in order to control that. Or there's something that the body doesn't even have storage mechanisms for. So physiologically, as two examples, a zinc and magnesium, two of the headliners within ThincZinc Plus Ultra, your body doesn't have the ability to store those things like it does with blood sugar or body fat or things that it's going to rely on and tap into later on for brain food and energy or just for overall caloric expenditure. So you can definitely rely on the fact that it is very, very safe for that same equivalent 6 milliliter dosage on a daily basis to be just as great for you as it is for your toddler or as it is for your child. So that's something that I really wanted to just spend a little bit more time talking about. Third will be, what will you feel? This is something I get a lot on. So I think of supplements and nutraceuticals in two categories, and they're very, very distinct, although there is a little bit of symmetry and overlap in those categories. But category A is basically going to be your experiential type supplement. And what I mean by that is it's something that is very segmented, very purpose specific as far as the functionality of it. And think of that as a pre-workout, or think of that as an energy supplement, to where there's almost that instant gratification and that biological payoff to where you can tell something is working. Now, in the other column is far, far more advantageous for what we do on a daily basis, especially long term. Because remember, winning the battle of the day by making healthy choices when it comes to nutritious foods, a well-balanced dietary intake, or very high, ultra pure premium products and formulations like ThincZinc Plus and our other products at BioGenesis Laboratory, that really compounds and starts to aggregate over the long term. So when I say that, here's the reality of it. We know that we should be doing these things, that we should be replenishing our body with minerals, that we should be taking these micronutrients, these phytonutrients, that we should be taking in much more antioxidants in order to cellularly heal our body from the inside out. And I could go a lot into the research on that. But my point is, these are just things that innately that we understand that we should do. When it comes time to go through the drive-through for fast food, we understand that we are sacrificing quality and healthfulness of that food in order to have something that is more convenient and readily available for us. So the reason why I separate supplements into these two categories is because ThincZinc Plus Ultra definitely falls into the second category. This isn't something that you're going to notice a huge impact in your energy levels immediately. As a matter of fact, a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from people after shipping a couple thousand orders from the website is they really start to notice a payoff after week 3. Now, biologically, as far as what the mechanisms or the interplay is within your body, I can't be sure about that. But what I do know is that after week 3, and for sure after your first bottle of ThincZinc Plus Ultra, you'll really start to notice a difference. Here's what you're going to feel. You're going to notice a difference by contrast. What I mean by that is if you go on vacation and you don't take your bottle, or let's say you run out of a bottle and your zinc scription hasn't arrived that month, and so you're just a little bit behind because you don't have it anymore. You'll notice a difference in the way that you feel and think and perform, the way that you're digesting food, the way that your joints are feeling on a daily basis. That brain fog will start to creep back in. And so overall, just as a zoomed out view, the way that I think about this is you'll throttle down. And that is really where ThincZinc Plus Ultra shines. It's not a visceral product to where you're going to feel wired and you're going to have instant on tap energy. But what it does is much more brilliant, much more sustainable. And to be quite honest with you, is definitely the better path to long term health. Because that's what it's all about is longevity. It's making a compilation of great common sense everyday choices that you are able to maintain on a daily basis for months and then years. We truly believe, and many other people are coming to the knowledge of the fact that ThincZinc Plus Ultra and our other formulations at BioGenesis Laboratory perfectly fill that niche. That's exactly what they're there for. So that's what you're going to fill on that. And then last but not least, let me round this out with another question about why does someone need ThincZinc Plus Ultra? Now, this is a great question. And the reason I saved it for last is because if you're watching this video or if you're already supplementing with other products, you probably understand that there is a need for these things. I touched on this a little bit earlier since 80% of our soil's mineral content has completely been stripped barren since 1950. So the food you're eating, even if you're trying to make good choices, and according to those labels, you're hitting the 100% of the recommended daily amount or the RDA, that is a bit of a misnomer. And I'd even go further than that and saying that it's almost malevolent in many ways. Here's the reason why. Speaking about ancient history and the way that things have developed and also the way that things have stagnated in science, we've turned a blind eye to the RDA. The reason that the RDA was even created was during wartime, back in World War II, when resources were very scarce. The RDA was basically a brainchild in order to give people something very simple and visual to look at and know where they should be in order to maintain their lowest common denominator of health. And as a matter of fact, that's not an opinion that I'm coming up with or that I formed through research, but that is the reality of what they, in their own disclosures and in their own policies, have admitted freely. So back in the 1940s, when the RDA really was coming to culminate into what we know today as those serving labels on the back of food, it was only the minimum amount that people needed in order to avoid known chronic deficiencies that exhibited themselves in these severe illnesses. So think of it that way. The RDA at 100% only means that that's 100% that you're not going to get horribly sick. That's a horrible situation to be in, to put yourself in, and to have your family in. Because many people have this false security blanket of thinking that they've hit 100% of their RDA, whether that's vitamin and mineral intake or just trying to get all of the nutrients that they need through the food supply, through a well-planned breakfast, lunch, and dinner. First of all, you'd be very, very hard-pressed to even have that happen if you had your own personal private chef and nutritionist that was working on these things for you. But lastly, the reason why you truly need ThincZinc Plus Ultra is because all of the science, all of the research, all of the organic biochemistry has already been done for you. So you're not only receiving therapeutic doses, but you're receiving the 7 key nutrients that actually work together to amplify one another so that the sum of their parts is much greater than the individual ingredient. And not only that, but the final thought that I'll leave you with is that each and every one of those 7 ingredients, specifically in ThincZinc Plus Ultra, not to talk about our other formulations, but each of those 7 ingredients is in its most bioavailable form. So what that bioactivity means is that your body is going to be able to fully utilize it. And that really is several fold as far as the science that went into the formula, because first of all, it's liquid. It's not a capsule. It doesn't get wasted. It doesn't have to get broken down enzymatically into its pieces and parts for your body to then get to the good stuff in the capsule. Secondly, we use whole food derivatives. And so what that means is that it has all of the cofactors that nature intended, along with things like in our vitamin C. It's not ascorbic acid. It is the vitamin C molecule as part of the full polyphenol spectrum from the camu berry that we source from the rainforest. That's very, very powerful to note. And then thirdly, we use the most highly standardized and potent extracts that come from those active ingredients. So leaning back again on the example of the camu berry and the vitamin C that we're able to derive from that, we use a 10-to-1 ratio of the camu berry, which means when it comes to weight by volume, it is 10 parts camu berry that has been distilled down 10 times in order to give you that 1 part of active ingredient. So it is a very, very highly concentrated and active ingredient of the vitamin C. Your body will thank you for it. You will certainly feel the difference. And the necessity for ThincZinc Plus Ultra is already built into the food supply because your cells are starving and screaming for something that is going to come through and naturopathically give you everything that you need to thrive that you never knew you needed. And here's the last thought I'll leave you with. Many people realize the power and really the magic behind ThincZinc Plus Ultra when they just start to feel like themselves again. What has happened to you is that over the course of months and years, you've kind of sunk into this slumber of low energy and you started to believe that's how you're supposed to feel. That is not how we're supposed to function. And that is the entire mission and vision that underpins everything we do here at BioGenesis Laboratory. We want to get as close to our origins as we can. And what that looks like for you is getting as close as you can back to fully optimized health. We're providing the tools, the science, and all of the research for you to do so. And I really hope that you take advantage of it. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you again soon at biogenesislaboratory.com. Enhanced Naturalceuticals.